As Amy talked about, we're just going to go over some of the latest help desk trends. And the first thing that I'm going to start with is how to simplify the help desk experience and improve the user satisfaction. So one of the first things that we do here, we have what we call an email to ticket feature. This would be the help desk in its simplest form. I'm just going to log in as the admin user here. But what your end users would see or do is they're just going to send an email to an address that you've created. Like ours is support@grouplink.net. So you can send an email to that address, and then what the system will do, you'll configure your mail settings here, and what the system will do is convert that email into a ticket. And so the ticket can then be generated to the ticket pool and be assigned to a technician, and the technician works on it through the help desk. That helps so that your end user doesn't have to log in and learn a new system. They're just simply sending an email. But it also helps for you as the help desk administrator and your technicians to be able to have that converted into a ticket and be able to track those different trends or what's happening at different locations. So as far as the end user is concerned, they are going to just correspond through email with a technician. When the email comes in and the system converts that to a ticket, the technician can simply open up the ticket, and I can show you that, and work on it just like normal, just like they would if somebody or if the end user were to submit that ticket themselves. So if, for example, the technician needed to ask the end user a question, they can add a comment, and this comment right here, if you notice, the technician has the ability to notify certain people. So they can, they probably wouldn't want to notify themselves, but they can notify the user, the person that entered in the ticket. Their user or their contact information would display here. And if there was anybody in the CC or the BC area that the end user included on the email, then we could notify them as well. And so the technician is working in the system in the ticket itself, but the end user is only seeing email. So they would get that comment or that question that the technician had. They would receive that in their email box, and they would simply respond. Now, that correspondence between the two of them is all going to be embedded here in the history comments. So the technician will have record of anything that they needed to speak with the end user about, and anything that the end user responded with. That would be there in the history comments. So that right there is the simplest form of the help desk. It helps you be able to categorize things and use a ticketing system, but for your end user, they're just simply using email. Now, another way, your end user, if you want to have them actually log into the system, it's fairly simple as well. For them, they're simply going to click up here to do a new ticket, and they're going to select where they want it to go. Now, in our system, if you only have one group, so let's say you're only using this for IT, then that will be the only group available, and it will automatically select that for the end user when they're submitting a ticket. So this contact information will default to the user that's logged in, and this can be accomplished by using your LDAP and integrating it with that, or setting each person up or having them set themselves up. On the location area, though, we do know that some people might move between different locations, or they might be putting in tickets on behalf of somebody else. They can change the location here, so that part is flexible. Now, in our system, we have a way to categorize tickets, and all of this information under ticket info, you can take it off the ticket or leave it on the ticket. And what I mean by that is, as the administrator, if you don't want your end users to select a category or a category option, then you can remove it out of the ticket's view, so your end user won't ever see that. Same with the status. We actually do have another field here that I have taken off, and that's the priority. The reason I take that off for end users is so they don't log in and see that I have set something to a low priority, and of course freak out and send a bunch of emails because their issue, they feel is at the highest priority. So just know that under ticket info, all of this stuff can be customizable. Now, we can take it one step further and we can customize our own questions. These questions right here, the room number, and then I've just put in question, when's a good time to contact you? These are all what we call custom fields. So you can type in any additional question that you need or any information that you need. And the neat thing about our system is you can have these things appear at different points on the ticket. So what I mean by that is I selected tech services as the group. So these custom fields in particular I have attached to the group of tech services, meaning whenever anybody puts in a ticket under that group, these are the questions that I would like to ask. Now I can get more specific than that. If I select category or hardware as the category, and then I'm just going to go ahead and select printer, if you notice another custom field appeared here. It says, is it plugged in? So that question itself is affiliated just with printer as the category option. So you can get very, very specific, and sometimes with these custom fields what we've found is when you ask certain questions, it will spark them to look at something, and maybe they won't put in the ticket. Maybe it is unplugged, and so they realize it, they plug it back in, and move on from there. But you can ask questions, if it was, say, printer related. You could ask if it was a local printer or a network printer, just so that you have the most information available to the technician before they go out to fix that. So I just like to look at custom fields as any additional questions that you would want to ask the end user to kind of save your technicians some time in doing that. Now, another thing that saves your technicians some time is our application is strictly web-based and can be used on a mobile device. So they can be out in the field and still receive their tickets and still view, make comments, and close them out if needed. So your technicians don't have to be sitting in front of their computer in order to do that. Now, let's see. I'm going to log in as a manager or a technician and show you how you can, each individual manager or technician can customize the help desk to suit their needs. Across the top here, you're going to see a bunch of different tabs. Now, I've created a lot of them here, but each individual technician can create their own. So let's say you have a technician that, maybe they go between 2 different locations. So rather than see every ticket that they have in their queue on the same page and scrolling down in it, they can set it up by location. So here I have Bountiful Junior High, and over here I have Layton Middle School. So anything that belongs to Bountiful Junior High is going to display here, and anything in Layton Middle School is going to display there. Some other examples that you see here, like hardware, you can even get it to be based on certain categories or category options. So if your end users are going to be utilizing the category or category option feature, and they're going to be auto-routed to technicians, they can set it up. Let's say they do hardware, but then they also do some networking or some software issues. They can split those up with these tabs as well. Now, I mentioned auto-routing when I was talking about that. Let me explain what that is. Our system can auto-route tickets based upon what your end user has entered. So on that category and category option, or even on a location, whatever is selected here, if it's hardware and printer, I can auto-fill the assignment area by setting up an assignment as the admin. So if I have somebody that strictly does trainings, then anytime that ticket is put in for a training, then it will automatically go to that person, and you don't need to have somebody that's assigning those tickets out. So you can route by location. So if you have a certain technician that services a certain set of offices or a school, then anything that comes in from those locations can go to that technician, and then you can get more specific and break it down into the category and category option level. Now, when you do send things to the ticket pool, which a lot of people like to do as well, every ticket comes into the ticket pool, and then they have somebody that would monitor that and make the assignments themselves. But what these two things do is make it so that end users aren't just selecting their favorite technician every time, and that you have a way of load balancing those tickets that come in, based on different criteria. So another thing that we're going to talk about here is assets. So I'm going to jump into that because technicians, if assets is something that you're going to be tracking, your technicians in our system can attach tickets to it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So here we have this Assets tab, and it's going to display all of the assets that I have entered. There's a few different ways to get these assets in here. You can enter them one at a time if you would like. You can import a CSV file. And then we also have an asset discovery piece that can be installed on one machine at your location, and it can go out and sniff your network and then pull those assets in for you. So it's just cutting out the work of you actually doing it yourself. So these particular ones I just entered because there's not many here, but just keep in mind there's different ways to get them into the system. So I'm just going to show you some things that you can track on an asset. We only have 4 required fields just because these things need to be differentiated between each asset. Obviously, every asset's going to have a number, and every asset's going to have a name. The asset type and the asset status are things that you would predefine. So down here in the settings, you would define what those types are and what those statuses are. So here, if I show you types, I mean, we just have different peripherals. So I don't know, the keyboard, printer, furnace is in here because we do have a lot of maintenance departments that are using the system. But then the status can be whatever you want. You can have 2 statuses if you'd like, or you can put in as many as you need. But these are 2 things that you would predefine and then would need to be attached here with each asset. But then all of the other information that you're seeing here are different things you can track. You can add the model number, serial number. You've got the manufacturer and the date that you received it. You can even come over here to accounting and type in any accounting information if you would like to store that in your system with that particular asset. You can, type in or put in, the disposal date if it's an asset that you have retired. And then right here, this associated tickets is what I was going to show you. As a technician, let's say they get a ticket on a certain motherboard or a certain hard drive, I don't know, that they need to request a part for, or they just need to attach an asset to it so that you can track it. I can come in here on any particular asset and come to the Associated Tickets tab, and then I can see how many tickets have been associated with that particular asset. And so it's just an easy, good way to track what's going on, and maybe when it comes time to purchase new, maybe you want to go with a different vendor, or not a different vendor, I'm sorry, a different manufacturer if you had a certain amount of problems with the one that you had purchased in the past. So a few other things. We do have a remote management feature, if you need to dial in and fix the computer remotely. And then also the software licenses. You can attach software licenses to each asset. Now over here on the right-hand side, there's 5 other tabs, but these are all custom tabs. So just the same as you could create custom fields on the ticket itself, you can create custom tabs here as well. This oil changes one is a good one. We had a transportation department using the system, and so they, of course, wanted to keep track of their fleet, and they wanted to keep track of oil changes. Well, we didn't have a tab that did that for them, so they created a custom tab, and they wanted to keep track of the actual date that they did the oil change, and then what the VIN number of the vehicle was. So there's a lot of different options here. You can create any extra custom fields that you need, any other things that you need to track as far as an asset goes. So now you're probably asking yourself, how do I, as a technician, attach the asset to a ticket? So I'm going to come back over here. And so you would just open the ticket, just like as if you're working on it. But right down here, there's an asset, and you're going to simply click on the magnifying glass. You can clear this out if you'd like to search everything, or you can put different parameters in here. If you know the asset name, you can type that in. You can search by any of these fields up here. So you're just going to select which one, and then if you notice, it puts the asset number in right there. And so you could save that, and now that asset is attached to that ticket. It's fairly simple. If there's a reason you need to take it off, you can just click the red X here, and it will take off that asset if you attach the wrong one or something to that effect. Okay, so another thing that I want to talk about is automating processes and workflows. Now, in our help desk, we have some things called templates. These templates can be used in 3 different ways. So the first way I'm going to show you is, let's say, you have a help desk, or even if your customer or your end users are just going to call in to submit a ticket, you can create something very quickly, like this password reset. Say that's something that happens all the time. They're constantly calling in because they need a password reset. Well, instead of creating a ticket each and every time and going through, I don't know, maybe 15 keystrokes, you can create a template here so that all you have to do is basically enter the contact name. So here, it's going to automatically pull who's logged in. So I'm the manager and I'm logged in, so I'm just going to switch it to whoever's on the phone with me at the time. And then if they're at a certain location, or if I need to change the location, I can do that. Now this one, because I was logged in as the manager, it's giving me the option for the assignment, but it wouldn't give others that. So I have it all filled out because I predefined everything else. I predefined the category option, the subject. So basically I'm going to put in the right contact name, go ahead and save that, and then launch it, and now that ticket's been created and it's been sent off to that technician. So a template can be created very quickly too. So if you do have a call center or a help desk, somebody can create that template just as quickly as they create one ticket, and then that template is going to be there for everybody that calls in. So it's just as quick for someone to create that on the fly, so you don't have to have everything predefined and everything in there when certain situations arise and you're getting a lot of phone calls that pertain to one item. So another thing that you can do here, we're going to look at this database backup. You can set things that are going to be reoccurring. You can have tickets automatically generated. So this database backup, if you do it on a certain schedule, you create the ticket here with all of the information in it that you need, or that the technician will need. And then here on the Recurrence tab, you're going to tell the system when you want that to be sent out. So what this looks like, if you noticed right here on database backup, you have these dots moving in a circle. That's telling me that this one is currently going. So whatever the recurrence is set for, a ticket will be generated based on that timeline. So if I tell it to go ahead and send out that ticket every 3 weeks, then this ticket will be sent out. It will be sent to that certain technician, and then it's just a way that we can track that it's been done. But you, as the administrator, you don't have to remember to log in every 3 weeks and send that ticket off. So the system will do that for you. Now, if there's ever a time where you want to stop this, but you don't want to delete it, you can click here to stop the process. And so right now, the tickets would not be going out every 3 weeks. But if at any time you want to start this up again, then you would just come back in here and click Start. And so then now they're being sent out again. So once it's created, it's fairly easy to just start and stop the process. And then the last item here is the workflow. We're going to go into this new hire template just because it has the most tickets attached to it. But when you're creating workflow, whatever it may be, it usually consists of more than one ticket. We have all of the tickets set up here. So you would just come in as the administrator and set up each individual ticket of how you want it to look. And then over here on the workflow tab, you simply just are dragging and dropping. So your first step is going to be to initiate the template that you created. And then the next step would be user added to the directory and set up desk, or any ticket in the workflow that needs to be in step 2 would be here. Now what this is telling me down here is as soon as those 2 tickets are closed out, then the next 2 tickets are going to launch. So let's say your phone setup and your computer setup went to 2 different people. Phone setup is over with Joe, and computer setup is with Harry. If Joe gets his done and closes it out and Harry just isn't around or he hasn't got to it yet, this next ticket will not launch until this second one is closed out as well. So both of the tickets have to be closed in order for the next ticket to launch. So the new hire, I mean, we know as an IT department that anytime you hire somebody, there are several steps and there are several things that need to be done, and they probably all aren't going to be done by the same person. You can even, let's say you decide to have your human resources department use this system. This workflow can go across different groups. So you would have an IT group, you know, they're submitting IT tickets to, and then you might have a human resources group as well. You could have, you know, a benefits package or something, one of those tickets in here that could go to human resources, and then when that's closed out, it still continues with the same workflow, but you're sending it to two different groups and two completely different technicians in those different groups. Now, another way that you can automate some processes here is through the scheduler. Now, we have scheduled items, and what scheduled items are is you set them to run based on different criteria, and it can change information on the ticket for you. So that, again, you know, you're not having to remember to go in and do it yourself, and it's just saving you a lot of time. So one of these scheduled items here that we're going to talk about is, let's say you have an SLA that things have to be met within a certain amount of time. So we'll go into this 1 hour first response. So we went ahead and named it. You can name it whatever you want. The status would come in as assigned to a technician but not yet updated. Priority might be low. All you're doing is saying any ticket that comes in and is assigned to a technician after 1 hour from the date that it was created, we want you to send this email. So an hour later, this email is going to go out and say, hey, our SLA wasn't met of that first hour. And so the technician would have gotten the initial email that the ticket was created, and then if nothing changes on the ticket, like let's say they don't change the priority or make a comment, then this ticket will go out to the technicians. So there's also other things that you can do. This resolve to close is something that we do here. We change our tickets to a resolved status, and then we give our customers, this one says 10 days, but here in our office we give them 3 days to respond and let us know, you know, if it really wasn't fixed or if something else is going on now. And so we'll set it to resolved, and it will sit in that resolved status for however many days you set here. This one says 10. So it would sit in resolved status for 10 days, and then when that 10 days is up, it would go ahead and automatically change the status to closed. And not only would it change the status, it will send another email just verifying that it has been closed out. So you can create these. If you notice, the last one I showed you was an email that was sent just to the technician, which is the ticket assignee, and this is one that's being sent to both the ticket assignee and the ticket contact. So you have different options there. You can send information just to the technician themselves or just to the end user, or you can go ahead and do both. Now there is one thing, I'm just about done here, but I will go ahead and touch on the knowledge base. The knowledge base is something that really can help your end users. They can come to the knowledge base, and if they have a question, like if you see this one at the top, how do I set up my voicemail? You know, rather than submit a ticket for that, as a technician, you can create that knowledge base article, and then they can hopefully find the help that they need here, and that's going to save your technicians time in, you know, having to call or having to go over and help them set that up. Now you can, you know, put anything you want, excuse me, anything you want in here that you would like your end users to view, but you can also put in things that you only want your technicians to view as well. So there are public knowledge base articles that everybody can see, and there are private knowledge base articles that only your technicians and managers could see. So if you wanted to store different drivers or different passwords or anything like that that's just privy to technicians only, you can create a knowledge base article and you can mark it as private, and then in order to see those, the technician has to be logged into the system, but they could still go to that and get the information needed. So now you're storing, you know, any help for your technicians and their tickets as well, all in the same system. So the knowledge base can also be available if you want to use that email the ticket feature and your end users aren't even logging into the system. Right here from the login screen, there's an option of search the knowledge base. So you can still direct them here. Even though they're not logging in and submitting their own tickets, they can click on search and still see the same thing. And so if they tried to do anything else in the system, it would ask them to log in. So this information is still available to those that are just using the email the ticket feature. So I think that I've covered everything that was on the agenda. Amy, is there any questions that I can answer at this time?
I have not seen any questions yet, but just as a reminder, if you do have any questions, you can put them through on the chat or the Q&A.